In the summer of 2023, a coup d'etat in Niger added to the series happening in West Africa since 2021. This followed the political overthrows in Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. A common motive in all these countries are rising anti-French sentiment and government's inability to fight insurgent jihadist groups. Aside the political instability these coups have rocked West Africa with, a main focus on this report is the impact the instabilities are having on food security, specifically in Ghana. If you live outside West Africa, you seldom hear about the country Niger in the news. Well, until recently. The Sahel country is one of the world's largest producers of the natural mineral resource, uranium. Just as it is important to the rest of the world, Niger is important to West Africa's demand for her onion production. Now, with the security crisis looming, what are the options of the dependence on Niger? Food is a basic need of life. The West African region has for centuries traded variety of food crops amongst itself, and the practice continues to this day, where remnants of colonial borders still exist. The coastlines of West Africa have always been a great source of seafood and salt for the hinterlands, whereas the hinterlands in Sahel regions have always provided tubers, nuts, and vegetables to the coastal areas. In our previous story on food security, a little over a year ago, we studied the existing dependence of Ghana on her neighbors for food supply due to her inability to produce enough for her own consumption. Over here, we're going to further look at how this dependence in this era of political turmoil in West Africa is impacting food trade and production in Ghana. By now, you should be aware that Ghana relies heavily on her neighbors for certain staple food commodities. For instance, about 90% of all tomatoes produced in Burkina Faso are exported to Ghana. As of 2022, it was estimated that the annual import of tomatoes from Burkina Faso have reached an amount of $400 million. Ghana also imports onions from Niger. In fact, Ghana is Niger's highest export destination of her onions at an annual average of $21.7 million. 70% of all onions in Ghana are from Niger. Today, both Niger and Burkina Faso have their borders closed and face ECOWAS sanctions due to the military takeovers in the past year. These countries are also experiencing an increase in terrorist attacks, which is hindering the production of these food crops, let alone exporting them. As a person living in Ghana, this analysis definitely tells me that Ghana is at a crossroad and needs some quick actions. I visited the local market in Tema to interact with traders on the challenges they're experiencing in this period of uncertainty. This is Zainab. She has been trading in onions in the past 9 years. She is familiar of the route her products take as well as aware of the current happenings in Niger. She explains the changes she has noticed.
Because of interquaning on Modia said I've been talking dear and any walk around never but in Tokwanin so much keep ama Ebanona a pro. Not say because I old it's our kind of mona eat china.
It's somewhat to border name.
It's almost so unbelievable for baby, no, not when I baby do not promo because I know man I old.
Zainab raised an interesting observation about how during the COVID pandemic, local Ghanaian farmers were compelled to increase production even though it was not enough to meet the market demand.
And also, and I have to me work as I can see so board. We say, it will be between 30 bags, 40 bags, 50 bags. It will crack to me, make I cover it, me crack to me 200 bags. I was Ghana, I redeemed my hair and pool. And see, yeah, has so much ba. Last week, my first 2 weeks, we prefer be when we share camp. About 20 bags.
As a trader, losses are part of the business, but the losses Zainab records in recent times is exponential and affects her business. She knows that farmers here have the ability to produce onions, despite the difference in the local breed of onions that is grown in Ghana.
Who's higher than the meaning apple?
I say,
we say, Afro, we a papa, we say, also, I am get one coin, it's a meton of bottom of 500.
Okay.
The employer and council, better for fair,
It's even though the ababat na say.
Okay. I tell what quite so now, he's a common.
Traders are in the market to make profit. Again, there must be steps, deliberate state intervention to actually cushion traders by way of taxes that are heaped on food. If deliberate steps are not taken to ensure that although they are a service-based stakeholder within the food value chain, steps are taken to limit the taxes that are heaped on the activities that they run. What will happen is that they will also pass on these levies and taxes that are leveraged on them to the consumer.
The Boku red and Galmi onion varieties are the most commonly cultivated varieties in Ghana. Studies have proven that the soil here best supports the cultivation of these types of onions, but the perennial scarcity of domestic onion supply has caused the influx of imports from neighboring countries like Niger. Let's hear what the Vice President of the Commodities Brokers Association of Ghana, CBAG, has to say about growing enough onions to lessen the reliance on these imports.
And if COVID and if some of these global crises have taught us anything, it means that we must not consistently be overly dependent on external sources for the needed inputs that we require to be able to do our local production, especially with food, because food borders on national security. Anytime there's a shortage of food, as we are seeing, it leads to what? Inflation. Even though government and the state has been putting in steps to try to bring down inflation, food inflation has still been on the high. And it's been so because as an economy, we depend on external sources for the needed inputs to be able to do our production.
The truth is, it is not a bad thing to import food as we have done. In fact, Ghana has a healthy import and export pepper trade with Nigeria as we support each other in the lean seasons. But an over-reliance, as what we currently do in the field of onion and tomato, is dangerous. As for Niger, onion production has been an age-long tradition. Jeffrey frequently travels to Niger as his team supports local farmers in the town of Dosso in onion cultivation. He tells how the political and security crises are affecting farm activities in Niger.
Insurgents in Niger have been up north. We've had pockets coming close, but not to the capital in Niamey. And it was part of the pressure that led to the destabilization of the government. We haven't seen that settle yet, but we're still having that challenge on the other border front of Ghana, that is Burkina Faso. That has also meant is that there is also uncertainty in the market, and uncertainty in the market has led to hiking food prices. The hiking food prices, as we know traditionally, has been as a result of the lack of inputs to support production, i.e. fertilizer that is required generally across board to assist in production.
There are suggested possible solutions, which include calling on all 16 governments in West Africa through its regional body to collectively contribute to the fight against insurgent terrorist groups without leaving the fight to only countries in the Sahel who are first-hand victims of these attacks. This should be treated as an issue of security. We also propose that scientists, agronomists, and agricultural experts have to prioritize the research and study how to best cultivate and grow local varieties of staple fruits such as onion and tomato to to at least meet the local demand and then maybe export.
When it comes to the variety that is already on the market, which is much preferred, it is a matter of preference, taste preference, and this will change over time when there is when the local breed of onions is prioritized. Ghana has the necessary research institutes such as the CSIR, and the Savannah Food Research Institute, and other private research bodies to come up with the necessary steps that can be taken to even domesticate the international breeds as well. So we are not just calling for the scaling up of the local breeds, but also investment into research to be able to domesticate the other external breeds which are actually brought in, varieties which are actually brought into the country, to ramp up production so that that local production gap is actually bridged. Then aggregators can begin to look in that direction. Ultimately, the market, like I always say, will go in the direction where its requirements and demands are met.
Ghana can grow her own food, even invest in expanding its agricultural capacity to become the hub of food production, as it is West Africa's most stable country. This will trigger a growth in the agricultural sector and even become a solution to the rising unemployment rate by creating jobs for the youth of the country. This conversation is actually overdue. Let me reference Dr. Nkrumah's famous quote that our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with a total liberation of the African continent. This remains a constant reminder of the importance of Africa's unity and collaboration. But in spite of this, let's not forget to grow our own for our own. Let's focus on ensuring our food security in order to be a resource to others while taking care of our need. Reporting for the Kente Business Journal, my name is Eko Tei Amwakwata from Tema, Ghana. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel Kente Business Journal TV and press the notification bell to stay updated always.